In the first days after my return from death, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror without feeling like I was staring at a complete stranger. My consciousness had expanded beyond anything I could have imagined, but I was trapped in a brain that was still wired for my old, limited reality. The disconnect was so profound it was physically nauseating. My appearance no longer matched my consciousness. The place I was living felt like a prison. My relationships felt like I was speaking an entirely different language. I remember standing in my bathroom at 3 a.m., 7 days after my near-death experience, looking at this woman in the mirror who looked exactly like me but felt like someone else entirely. My brain was literally rejecting my expanded awareness. I could feel the neural pathways fighting against the new information trying to integrate. But here's what I discovered. This wasn't a malfunction. This was my brain preparing to undergo the most radical neuroplastic transformation of my entire existence. In that moment of complete disorientation, my consciousness began directing me towards specific exercises, not meditation techniques I had learned, but precise neurological protocols that seemed to download directly from a higher intelligence. These weren't gentle brain training exercises. This was conscious, aggressive rewiring of my entire nervous system. Over the next months, I experienced what I can only describe as a controlled neurological death and rebirth. Old neural networks literally dissolved. New pathways formed at speeds that should have been impossible. Patterns that had defined my entire personality for decades simply vanished. The calmness that emerged wasn't learned, it was grown. The expanded perception wasn't practiced, it was installed. The ability to see reality from multiple dimensions simultaneously wasn't developed, it was activated. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how this neuroplastic revolution works, why it's happening to increasing numbers of people during this planetary transition, and most importantly, how you can consciously direct your own brain evolution. Because the version of you that exists right now, your brain is already preparing for an upgrade. The question is, are you ready to surrender the neural patterns that have kept you small? Dr. Joe Dispenza's research with advanced meditators shows that profound consciousness experiences create measurable brain changes within weeks. But what I experienced went far beyond normal neuroplasticity. This was what I call consciousness-directed neuroregeneration. Harvard neuroscientist Sara Lazar studies prove that meditation literally thickens the prefrontal cortex and increases gray matter density. But near-death experiences accelerate these changes by decades in a matter of days. Michael Persinger, Temporal Lobe Studies. Dr. Persinger's research shows that electromagnetic field changes in the brain can trigger expanded consciousness experiences. During my NDE, I experienced massive electromagnetic shifts that continued for months afterward. According to Roland McCraty Heart Math Institute, the heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than the brain. When consciousness expands, heart-brain coherence reaches levels that literally restructure neural networks. Cellular biologist Bruce Lipton proves that consciousness can directly influence genetic expression. During my brain rewiring, I wasn't just changing neural pathways, I was activating dormant genetic potentials. Fritz Albert Popp biophoton research says that cells communicate through light emissions called biophotons. During consciousness expansion, biophoton coherence increases dramatically, allowing for accelerated cellular communication and neural network formation. Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose in The Orchestrated Objective Reduction Theory suggests consciousness arises from quantum processes in microtubules within neurons. My experience suggests that expanded consciousness states activate these quantum processes at unprecedented levels. Physicist Henry Stapp proves that consciousness can influence physical brain structure through quantum mechanical processes. This is how intention-directed neuroplasticity actually works. The 3 phases of neural revolution. Phase 1: Neural dissolution. Old patterns must be broken down before new ones can form. This creates the initial disorientation and identity confusion. Phase 2: Quantum reorganization. New neural networks form based on expanded consciousness patterns rather than survival-based programming. Phase 3: Integration and stabilization. The new neural architecture becomes the baseline, creating permanent access to expanded awareness states. Now I'll share the exact process my consciousness guided me through to rewire my brain for permanent expanded awareness. These aren't theoretical techniques, they're the precise protocols that transformed my neurology. In those first weeks of disorientation, my consciousness began directing me toward what I call coupling exercises, specific protocols designed to help my expanded awareness integrate with my existing neural architecture. Exercise 1: Neural pattern recognition. I was guided to sit in meditation and observe my thoughts not as random mental chatter, but as evidence of specific neural pathways firing. I would track each thought back to its neural origin point and consciously choose whether to reinforce or dissolve that pathway. The breakthrough came when I realized I could feel the actual electrical impulses moving through my brain. This wasn't visualization, this was direct sensory perception of my own neural activity. Exercise 2: Conscious network installation. Once I could perceive my neural activity directly, my consciousness began showing me how to install new networks. I would visualize the neural pathway I wanted to create, then send focused intention into that brain region until I could feel new connections forming. The sensation was like controlled lightning moving through my brain. Within days, I could access states of consciousness that used to require hours of meditation. Exercise 3: Pattern breaking protocols. 4 deep personality changes. I learned to identify the neural networks maintaining old patterns, then consciously flood them with incompatible information until they dissolved. This was the most intense part of the process. I literally felt decades of conditioning melting away. It was simultaneously terrifying and liberating. My consciousness guided me to work directly with my brain's electromagnetic field to accelerate the rewiring process. Protocol: Electromagnetic field coherence. I learned to consciously adjust my brain's electromagnetic frequency by focusing on specific areas while maintaining heart-brain coherence. This created optimal conditions for rapid neural network formation. Dean Radin supernormal. Research shows that consciousness can influence electromagnetic fields. I was essentially using consciousness to optimize my brain's electrical environment for maximum neuroplasticity. Jonathan Goldman says that healing sounds. Specific frequencies can trigger neural network formation. My consciousness directed me to work with precise sound frequencies that activated dormant brain regions. I discovered that maintaining 40 Hz gamma brainwave states for extended periods triggered massive neuroplastic changes. This frequency appears to be optimal for consciousness-directed brain evolution. Reference: Tom Kenyon Brain States. Different brainwave frequencies access different levels of neuroplasticity. By consciously shifting between states, I could direct specific types of neural rewiring. The integration challenge. The most difficult part wasn't the rewiring itself, it was learning to live with a fundamentally different brain. Simple activities that used to be automatic now required conscious adjustment. Relationship recalibration. My expanded perception meant I could now see the emotional and energetic patterns of everyone around me. Relationships that used to feel normal became impossibly superficial. Reality perception shifts. Colors became more vivid. Time perception changed dramatically. I could simultaneously perceive multiple layers of reality. The ordinary world felt flat and limited. Identity dissolution and reformation. The most profound change was the dissolution of my ego-based identity. The neural networks that had maintained my sense of separate self simply disappeared. What emerged was a much more fluid, multidimensional sense of identity. I learned to connect my rewired brain directly to the quantum field, allowing for real-time downloads of new neural patterns and capabilities. Parallel self-neural integration. Using the holographic principles from Episode 7, I began integrating neural patterns from parallel versions of myself, dramatically accelerating my evolution. Collective field neuroplasticity. I discovered that connecting with others undergoing similar transformations creates a morphic field that accelerates everyone's neural evolution. The new normal, living with an evolved brain. After months of intensive rewiring, what emerged was a brain capable of simultaneous, multidimensional perception, direct consciousness-matter interface, accelerated learning and pattern recognition, natural access to expanded awareness states, electromagnetic field perception and influence. What I'm sharing with you isn't just personal transformation, it's a map for the next stage of human neural evolution. We are living through the most significant consciousness upgrade in human history, and your brain is already preparing for this transition. The Global Coherence Initiative. Research shows that increasing numbers of people worldwide are spontaneously experiencing consciousness expansions that trigger rapid neuroplastic changes. This isn't coincidence, it's evolutionary inevitability. We are transitioning from survival-based neural programming to consciousness-based brain architecture. Those who learn to consciously direct this process become bridges for others awakening to their neuroplastic potential. Signs your brain is ready for upgrade. You may already be experiencing unexplained changes in perception or awareness, difficulty maintaining old patterns or relationships, spontaneous downloads of new knowledge or capabilities, electromagnetic sensitivity or unusual energy perceptions, dreams of learning from advanced versions of yourself. These aren't problems to solve, they're invitations to evolve. The responsibility of neural evolution. With an evolved brain comes profound responsibility. You become capable of influencing reality in ways that most humans cannot comprehend. Every thought, emotion, and intention becomes exponentially more powerful. The calm and expanded vision I described wasn't just pleasant side effects. They were necessary developments for safely handling advanced consciousness capabilities. Your Neural Revolution Protocol. Starting tomorrow, begin with these foundational practices. Daily neural observation. Spend 10 minutes observing your thoughts as neural activity rather than random mental chatter. Feel for the electrical patterns in your brain. Consciousness-directed intention. Choose one limiting pattern you want to dissolve and one expanded capability you want to develop. Direct focused intention toward these neural changes for 20 minutes daily. Electromagnetic field awareness. Practice sensing the electromagnetic field around your head and heart. Learn to consciously adjust the coherence between them. Pattern breaking integration. Weekly, consciously break one habitual pattern and replace it with behavior aligned with your expanded consciousness. We are becoming a species capable of conscious evolution. The brain you have now is not the brain you're meant to keep. We are designed to continuously upgrade our neural architecture in response to consciousness expansion. The generation being born now will consider multidimensional perception and consciousness-directed neuroplasticity completely normal. We are the bridge generation, showing what becomes possible when humans take conscious control of their own neural evolution. In our next transmission, we'll explore quantum field healing, when consciousness becomes medicine. I'll share how my rewired brain gained the ability to interface directly with the quantum field for healing, both personal and collective. The neural changes I've described today are just the beginning. Once your brain learns to consciously evolve, it never stops upgrading. The stranger you see in the mirror during your transformation isn't someone else, it's who you've always been becoming. The discomfort you feel isn't malfunction, it's evolution. Your consciousness is already several steps ahead of your current brain. The question isn't whether you'll upgrade, it's how consciously you'll direct the process. The neuroplastic revolution isn't coming, it's here. And your brain has been waiting your entire lifetime for you to finally give it permission to become what it was always designed to be. This is Elena Davalon, reminding you that your brain is far more plastic, powerful, and evolutionary than you've ever imagined. Evolution is not optional. But conscious evolution, that's a choice.